November 12, 1942, Richmond, California, a moment that would shatter 3,000 years of maritime tradition. After just 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes, a complete 441-foot cargo vessel stands ready to slide into San Francisco Bay. In the traditional shipyards of America, master builders once spent 6 to 8 months constructing similar vessels. Yet here, a complete Liberty ship awaited its maiden voyage. Over 1,000 workers, former secretaries, farmers, housewives, and laborers stepped back from the hull of the SS Robert E. Perry. Not experienced craftsmen, not maritime dynasties, just ordinary people who had learned to weld mere weeks earlier. The crowd of officials, journalists, and competing shipyard owners had gathered to witness something unprecedented. A moment that would transform industrial production forever. The mathematics of Allied victory were being written not in battle strategies, but in production statistics. German U-boats and surface raiders were sinking Allied shipping faster than traditional shipyards could replace vessels. In 1941 alone, 3.6 million tons of Allied shipping vanished to the ocean floor. Britain was literally starving. Traditional methods required an average of 230 days to build a single cargo ship. At that pace, the Allies would lose the Battle of the Atlantic before American industry could respond. Enter Henry Kaiser, a 58-year-old construction magnate who had never built a ship in his life, never managed a shipyard, never experienced maritime tradition. His career had been moving earth and pouring concrete for massive dam projects across the American West. In December 1940, he signed his first shipbuilding contract, 30 cargo vessels for the British government within 2 years. Traditional shipbuilders dismissed him as a naive opportunist. What none of them understood was that Kaiser's complete ignorance of maritime tradition would become his greatest advantage. Kaiser's chief engineer, Clay Bedford, had visited a Ford Motor Company assembly line in Detroit just weeks earlier. He watched automobile chassis moving down production lines with workers installing prefabricated components at each station. He returned to California, convinced that ships could be built the same way. The traditional shipbuilders considered this comparison absurd. Their ships had always been built from carefully drafted plans, riveted together piece by piece. A skilled riveting crew could install perhaps 100 rivets per day. Each Liberty ship required approximately 1 million rivets if built conventionally. Kaiser proposed using electric arc welding instead, a technique he had mastered building pipelines across the American West. Vice Admiral Emory Land, chairman of the United States Maritime Commission, examined Kaiser's proposal with deep skepticism. The British Navy forbade welding on warship hulls. The maritime establishment had centuries of tradition, saying Kaiser's methods would fail catastrophically. Yet Land also recognized desperation. American shipyards using conventional methods would require nearly 8 months per vessel. At that pace, the Allies would lose the war at sea before they could adapt. The decision to approve Kaiser's contract represented not confidence, but necessity. The Richmond shipyard rose from empty mud flats between January and December 1941. Kaiser's construction crews erected a facility that horrified traditional maritime engineers. Instead of massive gantry cranes and longitudinal building ways, Richmond featured something entirely different. An automobile assembly plant designed for ships. Open areas for prefabrication surrounded 7 parallel building ways. Railroad tracks crisscrossed the facility. Overhead cranes, capable of lifting entire ship sections, stood every 100 feet. The arrival of workers provided the next revolutionary change. Kaiser advertised in newspapers across America, offering wages 20% above standard industrial rates, and promising to train anyone willing to work. The first groups arrived in Richmond in August 1941. Traditional welders spent 4 years as apprentices, learning comprehensive skills. Kaiser's instructors
taught specific techniques for specific tasks in approximately 2 weeks. Workers didn't need to know how to weld everything, only how to weld vertical seams, horizontal deck plates, or curved hull sections, which they would do repeatedly. As workers gained experience through late 1941 and early 1942, something unexpected occurred. Construction time for Liberty ships began falling dramatically. Kaiser's first Liberty ship took 197 days. Ship number 5 required 128 days. Ship number 10 required 97 days. By spring 1942, Richmond was completing Liberty ships in 70 days on average. Traditional shipyards watched with growing alarm as this untrained workforce matched their highly skilled crews. The prefabrication approach proved devastatingly effective. Instead of building ships from keel to deck in sequence, Kaiser's yards fabricated entire sections simultaneously across the facility. While one crew assembled a bow section, other crews built stern sections, deck houses, engine rooms, and bulkheads in parallel. When sections were complete, massive cranes lifted them onto the building ways, where welding crews joined them together. Tasks that previously required weeks now took hours. A conventional shipyard might have 50 workers attempting to install an engine over 3 weeks, working in cramped confines of a partially complete engine room. Kaiser's approach assigned 200 workers to assemble the complete engine in an open workshop over 5 days, then used cranes to position the entire assembly in a single 8-hour operation. The mathematics of parallel production revealed manufacturing efficiency that seemed impossible to traditional builders. Competition among Kaiser's 7 yards spread across California, Oregon, and Washington, drove production speeds even higher. By autumn 1942, newspapers published speed records like sports scores. Oregon Shipbuilding built the Joseph N. Teal in just 10 days in September 1942. Vice Admiral Vickery eventually ordered the competition stopped, but it had served its purpose. Workers across all yards now believed that extraordinary speed was not merely possible, but expected. November 1942 brought the ultimate demonstration. Vice Admiral Land, visiting Richmond, made an offhand comment to journalists, overheard by Clay Bedford. The Admiral remarked that Liberty ship construction had improved, but noted that recent speed records still paled compared to mass production in other industries. Bedford took the comment as a personal challenge. He proposed to Land that Richmond Yard No. 2 would attempt to build a complete Liberty ship from keel laying to launch in under 10 days, cutting the Joseph Teal's record in half. Land authorized the attempt on condition it not disrupt regular production. Bedford selected the 47th hull for the record attempt. The ship would be named SS Robert E. Peary after the Arctic explorer. Starting Sunday, November 8th at 1 minute past midnight, over 1,000 workers operating in carefully coordinated shifts would attempt something unprecedented in maritime history. The prefabrication strategy reached its ultimate expression. Every major component had been built, inspected, and staged before the keel touched the building way. The bow section, comprising more than 50 individual pieces, had been fully welded and equipped with anchor hardware and crew quarters. The stern section included the completed steering gear and propeller shaft. 4 complete cargo holds, massive rectangular structures of steel. The engine, a 140-ton triple expansion steam power plant, had been mounted on its foundation structure and tested before leaving the factory. Where conventional shipyards built from keel to deck over months, Kaiser's yards assembled a nearly complete ship from prefabricated sections in days. 4 days into construction, the hull was complete, engine installed, deck houses positioned, cargo holds secured, steering gear mounted. On Thursday, November 12th, at 3:30 p.m., just 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes after the keel touched the buildingway, SS Robert E. Peary slid down the launching rails into San Francisco Bay. The crowd of observers included maritime officials, military officers, competing shipyard owners, and journalists from across America. Many arrived expecting to witness either failure or a compromised vessel. What they saw instead was a fully operational ship requiring only minor fitting out before entering service. Vice Admiral Land, present for the launching, made brief remarks recorded by newsreel cameras. 6 months ago, I would have called this impossible. Traditional shipbuilding wisdom, accumulated over 3,000 years, said you cannot build a proper ship in 5 days. Henry Kaiser has made traditional wisdom obsolete. The Liberty ship program built 2,710 vessels between 1941 and 1945, an average of 1.8 ships per day at peak production. Kaiser's 7 yards alone produced 1,490 ships. Construction time fell from an average of 230 days to just 42 days by 1943. The United States was launching 3 Liberty ships daily, more tonnage than German submarines could sink. Yet Kaiser's greatest achievement was not the ships themselves, but the transformation of what industries believed possible. The maritime establishment that dismissed him in 1940 spent decades after 1945 studying and implementing his techniques. When Japan and South Korea rebuilt their maritime industries in the 1950s and 1960s, they studied Kaiser's program and adopted his approaches as the foundation of their yards. Every modern shipyard uses approaches derived from Kaiser's Liberty ship program. The ships themselves are mostly gone now, scrapped decades ago or resting on ocean floors. But the revolution they represented endures in every modern shipyard, in every manufacturing facility that uses prefabrication, in every training program that teaches specific skills quickly rather than broad expertise slowly. The Liberty ships carried more than cargo across oceans. They carried proof that human ingenuity, when unshackled from tradition and empowered by necessity, can accomplish the seemingly impossible. Henry Kaiser proved that industrial revolutions happen not through incremental improvements, but through fundamental reimagining of what is possible. The 2,710 Liberty ships, built between 1941 and 1945, proved that ordinary people, given training and opportunity, could achieve extraordinary results. That lesson endures wherever industries face challenges that conventional wisdom claims impossible. Kaiser's legacy is carved not in steel, but in transformed understanding of what dedicated people can accomplish when freed from the constraints of tradition and challenged to attempt what experts claim cannot be done.